Just enjoy and listen to, and have a fun of it.
Welcome, and remember, just have fun. This is Story Radio Station. I'm your host, ready to dive into, well, probably the most explosive topic reshaping our infrastructure right now.
And I'm your expert guide for today. My job is to make sure you get all the critical context, without the usual information overload. Let's try and unmask this whole AI revolution map.
Okay, before we even start charting this new territory, if you want to keep exploring these deep seas of knowledge with us, please hit that subscribe button, maybe give us a like and set your notifications. It really does make a huge difference for us.
It really does. So what's the mission for today's deep dive?
Right, the mission. It's pretty clear, honestly. You open any news site, any tech blog, and you just cannot escape it. The boom in AI data center AIDC construction, it's everywhere.
It really is.
So we wanted to understand the before and after of this heat wave, you could call it. Why is this construction frenzy actually happening? How different are these new centers, really? And crucially, what's the single biggest roadblock that's threatening to, well, shut the whole operation down? We're aiming to basically compile everything a non-expert needs to know about this ADC revolution, right?
That's so important because AI, it's not just software anymore, is it? It's become a full-blown infrastructure war fought with, actual cement, steel, and frankly, trillions of watts.
Let's kick off with just the sheer size of this investment. I mean, the numbers we're seeing, they're absolutely staggering.
They truly are. And the engine behind all this growth, it's one thing, AI. Global data center capital expenditure, that's the money being spent building them, is estimated to top, get this, $400 billion this year, 2024.
$400 billion.
And it's projected to surge past $500 billion. That's $500 billion in 2025.
$500 billion. Wow. Okay, that's not just a market anymore. That sounds more like a gravitational pull, like reshaping the whole global economy.
It's pretty much an industrial reorganization, yeah. By 2028, the global market size is projected to blast past $900 billion. That reflects a compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of a blistering 23%.
Okay, CAGR. We hear that term thrown around constantly. For you listening, how fast is 23% really growing? Is that a lot?
Oh, it's huge. Forget just adding a bit more each year. This means the investment is accelerating, like almost exponential. It's compounding year after year.
Yeah.
And why so expensive? It's driven by this massive jump in the quality of the infrastructure needed.
Quality meaning?
Meaning AI servers already account for about 50% of total server spending by value. You need these super high-performance GPUs, graphics processing units, to run AI models.
Right. The things gamers love, but on steroids.
Exactly. But way more powerful and way more expensive. Those components are massively pricey, and it's causing this sort of technical inflation in the construction costs themselves.
So is the Korean market managing to keep pace with this global explosion?
Absolutely. The domestic data center market here has seen really high growth too, averaging about 20.3% per year since 2010. That's sustained growth. And maybe more importantly, the perception has shifted. Data centers aren't just warehouses anymore. They're seen as critical infrastructure assets. You see that in major deals like the purchase of the Hanam data center for over $730 million. That tells you they're viewed as strategic long-term investments now.
And on the world stage, Korea is playing a key role.
Yeah, strategically vital. I mean, one of the major cloud providers is already looking for a third ADC location here. And a huge GPU maker, they're strengthening their, quote, AI alliance by promising a priority supply of something like 260,000 high-end GPUs to Korea.
260,000 GPUs, just like that.
Priority supply. It shows Korea is really cementing its place as a crucial hub, especially in the Asia-Pacific region.
Okay. So we're building these incredibly expensive centers, packing them full of these super expensive GPUs. But hang on, if you cram that many high-performance GPUs together,
yeah,
you hit the inevitable problem, right? Extreme heat and the power needed to run them.
Precisely. And that right there is the core of the technological leap we're seeing. Traditional data centers, they were happy operating at around, say, 8.6 kilowatts to maybe 10 kilowatts per rack of servers. That was the standard power density.
Pretty manageable power-wise.
Totally. Not anymore. AI infrastructure demands power densities of like 44 kilowatts to 50 kilowatts, maybe even more, per rack.
Like rack.
Per rack. Just think, a single rack with only 4 of those top-tier NVIDIA H100 GPUs, that alone needs 44 kilowatts. That's a 4 to 5-fold spike in power density compared to before.
5 times the power, 5 times the heat, roughly. Does this just mean that conventional air conditioning or, air cooling, as it's called here, is basically dead, kaput?
In short, pretty much, yeah. For these high-density AI racks, yes. If you try and stick with traditional air cooling, the lifespan of those incredibly expensive GPUs, it could plummet to just maybe 2 or 3 years.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's a massive capital loss waiting to happen. So the solution everyone's turning to is liquid cooling technology, specifically something called D2C, or direct-to-chip cooling.
Direct to chip.
Yeah, you literally attach these small cold plates directly onto the processors, the GPUs, the CPUs to just wick the heat away immediately, right at the source. It's much more efficient. KT Cloud's Gason AI data center here is actually already using this D2C liquid cooling commercially.
So liquid cooling isn't just about keeping things, comfortable for the machines. It sounds like it's mandatory asset protection for gear that costs maybe $50,000 per rack or even more.
It is essential capital expenditure.
Right.
It's not optional. And that's why building these ADCs costs about 33% more than traditional centers, maybe $52 million per megawatt versus $39 million.
Yeah.
That extra 33%, it's not a luxury add-on.
Baked in.
It's an essential CapEx reallocation, as they say. You have to spend it to ensure the longevity of your assets and actually to improve overall efficiency in the long run. If you cheap out now, you lose way more later in failed hardware.
Right, efficiency. This must change how we measure that too, right? We always used to talk about PUE, power usage effectiveness. That's basically the ratio of total energy used by the data center versus the energy that actually powers the IT equipment itself, aiming for 1.0, ideally.
Exactly. Lower is better. But in the age of AI, just measuring PUE isn't quite enough. It has to evolve. It's no longer just about how efficient your air conditioning is. It's becoming about efficiency per compute density. How much computing power do you get for the energy and space used?
A whole new metric.
Kind of. And the PUE target itself is becoming more stringent, needing to be 1.2 or less. This is critical because regulatory bodies like in the EU, they're starting to mandate disclosure of energy efficiency indexes. There are potentially severe fines for non-compliance.
Okay, so the bottom line for part one is this tech upgrade is absolutely non-negotiable. To run AI effectively, you must spend more upfront, you must use liquid cooling, and you must
Good evening, and welcome to the Story radio station, where we explore tales from around the world.
the world of AI data centers.
That's right. In part one, we basically established that AI is driving this, well, explosive investment. And it's forcing a complete technological shift away from old-style air-cooled data centers towards these new liquid-cooled super high-density ADs.
Exactly. And now, in part two, we need to tackle what might be the biggest threat to this entire revolution. It's what we're calling the power paradox, basically, the huge political and social bottleneck around just getting enough electricity to these things.
Yeah, the tech might be ready, the money might be there, but if you can't actually power it up reliably, none of it matters.
Let's start with the global picture again. This massive electricity demand from data centers, it's becoming a real energy security threat worldwide, isn't it?
It really is. Globally, data center electricity use is expected to hit something like 945 terawatt hours by 2030.
945
Yeah.
terawatt hours. How much is that?
It's a lot. It's more than double the consumption projected for just this year, 2024. By 2030, data centers could account for maybe 3% of the entire world's electricity usage. This isn't just a side note anymore. It's becoming a genuine national security concern for many countries.
Then here in Korea, the situation seems particularly tricky. Caught in this power paradox, you called it, because of where everything is concentrated.
Yeah, the concentration is the real kicker here. Most of the data centers are clustered heavily in the Seoul metropolitan area, right? But the area's ability to generate its own power, self-sufficiency, is shockingly low.
How low?
Seoul itself operates at only about 10.4% self-sufficiency. Gyeonggi province, surrounding Seoul, is a bit better, but still only around 62.5%.
Wow, so only 10% for Seoul.
Meanwhile, the regions where the big power plants are located, like Gongbuk down south or Gangwon to the east, they boast self-sufficiency rates over 200%. They're making way more power than they use.
So basically, 90% of the electricity needed to run Seoul's digital future, including all these new ADCs, has to be physically hauled in from hundreds of kilometers away.
Exactly. And to do that efficiently, you need critical infrastructure, like HVDC high voltage, direct current transmission lines. HVDC tech significantly cuts down on power loss when you're moving huge amounts of electricity over long distances. It's essential.
I sense a but coming.
But yeah, every single time a new transmission line or a big substation is proposed, remember the whole controversy around the Hanam substation, it faces fierce local opposition. NIMBIism, not in my backyard.
Right. People don't want massive power lines overhead.
Understandably in many cases, but it creates this huge bottleneck. And the IT companies themselves, they often resist decentralizing, moving their data centers out to where the power actually is.
Why not just move? Seems logical.
Well, the main reason they cite is the difficulty of finding and keeping the highly specialized IT workforce they need outside the capital area. That's a real challenge. There's also perhaps a suggestion that some companies might prioritize, real estate benefits or just the convenience of being in the metro area.
So it's tangled.
It's incredibly tangled. And ultimately, the success of this whole AI infrastructure boom, it doesn't hinge on the tech, really, or even the money anymore. It hinges on finding political consensus and social acceptance to get these power lines built and overcome these delays.
Okay, so faced with this massive power deficit and the social challenges, what are the strategic solutions being looked at? How do we fix this?
We definitely need next-generation power sources. It's becoming unavoidable. First on the list, you hear a lot about SMRs, or small modular reactors.
So nuclear reactors.
Essentially, yeah. Think compact, factory-built nuclear reactors, much smaller scale than traditional plants. Potentially small enough to be located closer to where the power is actually needed, like a large data center campus. They're often seen as the starting point for this idea of a new power economy, kind of centered around data centers.
Interesting. But SMRs, they're still quite a way off from being widely deployed commercially, aren't they?
They are. It's a longer-term play. So for more reliable, maybe shorter-term solutions, you're seeing a lot more interest in fuel cells. These can generate continuous electricity, often using natural gas, and can be installed right on site at these massive new facilities. They offer a bridge, perhaps.
This all sounds like it needs a really big, coordinated, top-down national strategy. You can't just let individual companies figure this out.
It absolutely requires it. And the government is pushing this concept of an energy highway. The idea is to integrate the entire power value chain, from generation through transmission all the way to consumption, using things like AI and big data to manage it all, with HVDC technology as the backbone.
Is there actual money behind that vision?
Apparently so. The government has allocated something like 50 trillion KRW specifically for supporting ADC and this energy highway infrastructure. That's a massive national commitment, signaling how seriously they're taking it.
Okay, but we can't talk strategy without mentioning, well, the elephant in the room, or maybe the GPU in the rack. NVIDIA. They're not just selling chips anymore, are they? It feels like they're trying to build an entire infrastructure empire.
That's a pretty accurate way to put it. They are executing a very aggressive strategy for what you could call vertical dominance. They're aiming to build an AI empire that controls pretty much everything from the chip itself right up to the computing environment it runs in.
How are they doing that?
Well, they invest heavily in the whole ecosystem, funding startups, developing software platforms, and now they're even getting into building their own self-supplied power projects, like Project Horizon down in Texas. They're literally handling the power generation just to run their own AI computing needs.
Wow. So they're moving from just being a chip supplier to being like a full stack infrastructure provider, almost like a sovereign entity.
It's heading that way. It's a profound shift. They're effectively challenging traditional power companies in some ways.
That's the goal there, just control.
It's about controlling the entire resource chain, fundamentally, making sure their computing capability is never held hostage by external power problems or shortages. And here in Korea, they're also strengthening partnerships with the big memory semiconductor companies, kind of locking the country into their ecosystem as a key partner.
That's a huge strategic move. Okay, we've covered the power crunch, the cost, the strategy, but let's hit this final really critical point, the hidden costs, specifically around ESG, environmental, social governance, and the water footprint.
Yes, this is absolutely critical and often overlooked. Running AI, especially training these massive models, requires astronomical amounts of cooling. We talked about liquid cooling being essential, but that puts significant pressure on local water resources.
How so? I thought liquid cooling, especially the closed-loop D2C kind, was supposed to be more water efficient than old cooling towers.
It often uses less water directly at the data center site, that's true. But, and this is the key point, these closed-loop liquid cooling systems, they actually require significantly more electricity to operate, somewhere between 10% and maybe 40% more power just to run their internal pumps and control systems.
Oh, okay. I see where this is going.
Right. If that extra electricity comes from, say, fossil fuel power plants, well, those plants use absolutely vast amounts of water in their own cooling processes during generation. So when you look at the total life cycle, the overall hidden water footprint for the entire operation can paradoxically increase, even with eco-friendly liquid cooling.
So companies can't just point to their low PUE score and say, look how green we are. They need to look much deeper.
Precisely. They absolutely must conduct full environmental due diligence on their entire power supply chain. Where's that electricity actually coming from? What's its water footprint? And regulatory bodies are clamping down hard. The EU, for instance, is mandating disclosure of the Power Efficiency Index, or PEE, starting this year.
And there are consequences.
Big ones. Fines could reach up to 4% of a company's global revenue for violations. So ESG compliance. It's not optional PR anymore. It's a mandatory survival requirement in this business.
Okay. Wow. So today, we've really deep dived into why this ADC boom is happening. It's a technological necessity driven by GPUs and high power density. But we've landed on this critical point. The true test, especially for Korea's ambition to be a global AI leader, hinges entirely on solving this power paradox, overcoming the political gridlock and social hurdles to guarantee stable, massive, localized energy supply.
The irony is pretty stark, isn't it? The technology is here, the capital, the investment, it's flowing in. But the slow pace of getting the necessary laws passed, the ongoing social conflicts over building power lines, that NIMBY problem again, could genuinely result in this country becoming just a consumer of AI services, not a creator, missing the boat.
That stalled progress on key bills, like the AI data center promotion law you mentioned, that seems like the single biggest strategic bottleneck right now. If we miss this kind of golden window of opportunity because we can't agree on where to put power lines, the price could be our entire role in the global AI future.
It really could.
And maybe that's the most important thought we want to leave you with today. The real challenge here isn't technical anymore or even purely financial. It's fundamentally legislative and social, getting everyone pulling in the same direction.
Definitely something for you to mull over the next time you read about another giant data center being built somewhere.
Yeah.
Think about where the power's coming from.
Absolutely. Well, we hope this deep dive has brought some clarity to the incredibly high-stakes world of AI infrastructure. Thanks so much for listening. Magi Daige.